So first of all, welcome to the iChurch Method, how to advance your ministry online. My name is Jason Caston. Website is iChurchmethod.com. There's how you can reach me on Twitter. And then, of course, the hashtag we've been using is biola.digital. The stuff that I'm going to talk about today comes from two books that you all have access to. And the first one is the iChurch Method, and this is volume 1, where we talk about some of the basics of the 5-part approach that I take to helping ministries advance online. The first part is websites. Part 2 is multimedia, online video, live streaming. Part 3 is e-commerce, online donations, online stores. Part 4 is social media, and then part 5 is mobile. So volume 1 talks about the basics, just getting started if you're starting with nothing at all. And then part 2 talks about the more advanced stuff. So for example, instead of just live streaming, if you want to take it to the next level with, say, an internet church campus, then we talk about stuff like that. If you want to go from, in part 1, we're just talking about mobile websites. You want to go to the next level with mobile apps, then we talk about that stuff in part 2. What we have here is this presentation will be located at iChurchmethod.com/biola.digital, so you'll be able to get that. And then if you want to follow the iChurch Method, you can follow them on Twitter here. All right. Now let's talk about me for a second. Every day, I get to work with websites that reach over 1 million people per month, and actually that's up to 3 million people per month now. Multimedia properties that have over 2 million views. Talking about YouTube and Vimeo, weekly online streaming audience. I get to work with the Internet Church Campus that has around 60,000 people streaming, and this is at a variety of different churches. And in e-commerce that does sales and donations over 5 million in revenue, and social media properties that reach over 3 million. And then I help develop mobile websites and apps. And then also the mobile websites and apps have helped increase the online audience, the mobile audience for some of the churches upwards of 30 to 40%. So just give you an idea of some of the things that I get to touch base with. And what I would like to do today is lay out a template that will help give you some best practices for establishing an effective online presence. And again, the 5 areas that I look at consistently when I'm talking with any church is websites, multimedia, e-commerce, social media, and mobile. All right, those 5 areas seems to be the key areas that I've come across that ministries need to be effective at when they're trying to reach and extend their online aspect and their online reach and their online presence. Okay. Now, the way I wrote this, the iChurch Method, is twofold. The first part of every chapter is a strategic approach. So the strategy is for the leaders in the church and the people who are not as tech savvy, but they want to be able to understand the why behind things. So if we're talking about the chapter on websites, the first part of the chapter, first half, is the strategy, the why behind the strategy, and how to develop an effective strategy for your website and your online presence. Very much similar to what Paul was talking about earlier, just, talking about your strategy and the why. And then the second half of every chapter is what I call tech talk. And the tech talk is where it's actually showing where you roll up your sleeves and start coding and showing you screenshots of actually how to implement this stuff. So likewise, in the social media chapter, we talk about the strategy behind social media and how you effectively develop a strategy for your social media. And then in the second part, we're talking about the technical aspect of tools that you can use to actually implement that. All right, and that's the approach I took for the iChurch Method, because I wanted to make sure that churches were, if it's a leader who's not as tech savvy, they were able to effectively have an educated conversation with a tech person and not be taken advantage of. So they'll be able to understand, here's what I need for you to do for our ministry, and then not let the tech person, basically out geek talk them and take advantage of that ministry. I've run across a lot of ministries that had that happen to them, and I just didn't want that to continue. I wanted to help them have the information and the knowledge, as well as learn how to deal with people of integrity that can help advance their ministry online. Okay, now let's get into it. Let's talk about with your website. Now, the website is the largest outreach ministry in many churches. Okay, what I just read recently in a stat is up to 75% of new visitors are researching the church online before they step foot in the building. Their first church experience is coming online, usually in 1 of 3 places. It might be your website, your mobile app, or your social media presence. So therefore, that makes the website one of the largest ministries within your church or in your organization or your business or what have you, it's one of the largest presence. In your church, it becomes one of the largest welcome ministries for people because your website is their first entrance to your ministry. So what churches do understand that I'm seeing a lot is if when they had the welcome ministry, when you come to their actual building, they understand having somebody greet them, an usher greet them and show them to their seat and show them around the actual church and show them how to get their kids to the kids ministry. But when it comes to their web presence, they don't seem to understand how effective and how important it has to be that people understand what needs to be on that website, what people are looking for. You know, they understand that people are looking for stuff like service times and location and contact info. And sermons and donations and stuff like that. This type of stuff that people, these 5 basic things that people are looking for when they come to your website, and not how much movement is going on your website, how much flash can it be, and how much stuff can you pile onto the homepage to make your church look like an episode of Website Hoarders. And that's not what we want at all. Okay? Now, when we look at one of the, in addition to this, the 5 things that we laid out here, another aspect of your website that's very important is the I am new section. All right, this is when you start guiding, when a new visitor comes to your church, people understand, you know, give them a special place to park, let the people know if you're new, and then we guide them to a special seating area, and we guide them and help them understand this is our church and we want to introduce you to it and help you understand our ministry experience. But on the website, we don't give them specifically, since you're new, here's what we want to tell you so that you can help understand what your church experience will be like. Okay, so when we have that, you're putting your website together, consider in implementing an I am new or some type of new visitor button or some way to guide them and let them know that if you've never came to worship with us, this is one of the things that we want to show you, or we want to help you understand what your experience will be like. Okay. Next, let's consider the user experience. So now that we got past the things that we're looking for and the things that the user needs to see on the site, what is their experience like? All right, one of the things we talk about in the iChurch method is responsive design. No matter the device that people are coming to view your website on, the website looks the same or the website adapts to it. Okay, so if we look at with responsive design, and what that is basically is a way that your website is programmed so that when we see in Google really lead the charge on this, basically they're making it so that no matter what happens, no matter whether it's a mobile device, a tablet, or a laptop or desktop, the user experience is the same. And so what I saw that a lot of churches that I work with, what I saw originally was they would develop their website to work on a laptop or a desktop because that's what they were used to using. They didn't consider that there are people who are looking at your website from third world developing countries that only have access to your site via a mobile device. They don't have access to laptops and desktops and stuff like that. So their experience was limited and lacking because the website didn't adapt to a mobile device. They didn't think about that the younger generation carries around mobile devices much more often. So they're looking at your website from a mobile device, and because that your site doesn't adapt, then they don't have access to the ministry. But yet and still, we try and think of ways that we can increase outreach to the youth. And we don't think about the fact that our website doesn't adapt to the devices that they're used to using. So it's stuff like that that we want to look at. In addition to responsive design, we also want to see how quickly does your website load. And this is stuff that seems basic and seems common sense, but this is stuff that churches just don't think about. You know, how quickly does it load on every device, and not just on the laptop that you're looking at from, you know, the ministry that may have a fast connection. You know, what about when it has different types of connections? How fast does your website load and stuff like that? And then SEO, search engine optimization. And the reason I talk about this is I heard an example. There was a church that they had hired, and it actually had fired when they found out, but they hired somebody that had a questionable history. So every time somebody searched for their church website, underneath the results for their church was that person and the articles that they got in trouble and the stuff that they did. And I won't go into what that gentleman did in the example they said, but it was just he had a very unfavorable past. So now when somebody searched for that church in Google, they associated with that gentleman because that's what they saw. They would see a result, the top result for the church, and then underneath that, some type of criminal history. So they associated church with that criminal history because they're thinking these are the type of people you hire, this type of people that my children are come in contact with when I come participate in your ministry. So the reason I say that is when you look at SEO and search engine optimization, you want to look at, when people search for your site, so your church, what are they seeing? What are the rest of the results that are going on the page? What are the keywords that you've associated with your website so that when people are looking for you, that either the topics that you address in your ministry or the topics that come up when people search for your site, you want to make sure that you understand what those things are about. Just be aware of that so that you can update that, because you can put in keywords and change the things that come up on your site. All right, we actually did that with our site over at the Potter's House. We changed what people saw, the description underneath, because what was being shown, since we didn't have anything in, I believe the Google was getting it from Wikipedia, and that's where they were giving the description of what the church was about. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, next. Does your website tell your story? So we talked about some of the technical aspects of it, but does your website tell your story? When someone comes to, if someone's looking at coming to worship with you at your service, does they understand when they look at your website, do they understand kind of what the service will feel like, what your church feels like, what's your church's story? That's the type of stuff you want to tell on your website. In addition to providing the information, the contact information, location information, and the stuff that's informative, but does it tell the story of your church, what your church has been through, how your church has came to become what it is right now, and just what the feeling will be like. That's the type of stuff you want to talk about, and talk about on your website and give people a feel so they can experience the service before they come experience the service. Next, we want to talk about is your website interactive? And by interactive, I mean, you see a couple of things that are interactive going on here. First and foremost, we see that these rotating banners and stuff like that type of stuff is interactive. So we have a different way of showing these different banners that we can guide people where we want them to go through the site. But also over there on the left, we see links to our social media. And that's the type of stuff that gives people, let people know that in addition to coming to this website and interacting with us with this website, we also have a presence on different avenues of social media. And when we look at having a presence on social media, we're looking at the ways that we're trying to figure out how to take our ministry content and take it to the people. Okay? If you have a presence on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll jump into this later on, we talk about social media, but just real quick, if you have a presence on Facebook and Twitter and these other social media channels that people want to be on, and they're carrying it around, people access it a lot via their mobile device, then all of a sudden, now basically they're carrying a way to access your ministry from wherever they're at anytime that they want to. And that's the real benefit that I'm seeing social media, when you're really able to take the ministry to the people because they're carrying it around with them. And that's the real type of ministry we want to do. Okay? And then finally, we're looking at analytics. You want to look at, when you go through all this and all the stuff that we've talked about, you want to analyze, optimize, repeat. Okay? How can we assess the progress that we're doing if we don't analyze, optimize, repeat? Analyze what you've done. All right, install the analytics so you can see who's coming to your site, where are they coming from, and how long are they staying on your site, how sticky is it. Optimize it, make your site better so that you can get more interaction, and then repeat the process. Okay? Part 2, let's talk about multimedia. All right, one of the most engaging forms of content on the internet. And we talked about that real quick with the rotating banners, live streaming, archive video, podcasting, and then we're going to talk about Internet Church Campus. So these are the forms of multimedia that we've seen that are very engaging on church websites. Okay? First and foremost, banners and video. Now, we've seen the engagement with rotating banners. This is tdjakes.org. This is the site we put up about a year and a half ago, and we've seen quite a bit of engagement on this. First thing we did was we looked at the rotating banners that people, that's the first thing they see. We try and put imagery on there that catches their eye when they first come to the site, that type of imagery that pulls them in. And we put probably about 8 banners up here, maybe at max, but those different banners is where we guide people where we want them to go throughout the site. We let them know different events we have going on. We let them know different ways they can interact with the ministry, but those banners is how we guide them. All right, next, again, we're talking about the interaction with the social media channels we got here, and then we got the different ways that I want to connect. We let them know how they can connect with the ministry. But the really point I want to get to is the video down here. With the video, this is the most engaging part of the page, and this is where we see people that spend the most time on our pages. Specifically, they're coming to watch the broadcast, and they're coming to see the different video modules that we have that's talking about what's going on at the ministry. So what video does is video gives people imagery and audio and all that combined into one as a way to actually get a feel for your ministry. And so that's why we encourage people to put video on their website, whether it be something, some of these are professionally produced pieces, or if it's just a welcome video from your pastor. But give them a way to get a feel of how your ministry is, what type of experience they'll have and what type of story your ministry has. Let video tell that story. Additionally, we use Vimeo videos here, and we also interact them with, change them out with YouTube. But you also see that you can, if you put those videos on, say, YouTube, then YouTube being the second largest search engine in the world and being the largest video social network, then you also have people that are able to search for it on YouTube and find your ministry that way. Because again, the thing that we're trying to get at is, even though we have our websites, we want to take this content that we have that we know provides solutions that people need and make sure we get that out to them. Let them be able to find it as many ways as you have the staff and the resources possible to get it out there. And then, in addition to putting it on your site and on these YouTube channels and in podcasts and the other stuff that we're going to talk about. All right, it's about making your ministry content accessible to as many people as possible. Continuing on, let's talk about live streaming. Okay, with live streaming, one of the things that we talked about before when I talked about with ministries is they've seen that they weren't able to live stream because they thought the production costs were too high. They thought the streaming costs were too high until they've learned that you can stream for free with these providers right here, Live Stream and Ustream. You can stream for free. So now, because you can stream for free, that makes people able to access your ministry from a desktop, mobile device, or what have you for free. So now every weekend with your weekend services, you now have the capability to set up and have people stream it for free. Also, YouTube is says they're starting to release live streaming as well. It's rolling out slowly, but they've also released some live streaming channels, or given some channels the capability to live stream as well. But live streaming, of course, people just seem to feel much more connected with people with their ministry. If they can't make it in, they may be sick, bedridden, what have you, on vacation, but they're still able to participate because they can stream in and watch the service live from wherever they're at, no matter what device they're on. So you want to give them that capability. Next, we're looking at archived video. Archived video, as we were talking about before, people are familiar with YouTube, people are familiar with Vimeo. I've been asked the question, which one's better, YouTube or Vimeo? I personally prefer, for the outreach purposes, I prefer YouTube because it gives me more bang for our buck, even though it's free. No matter what, we're able to embed the videos on our websites, but we're also able to let people find us as they're searching on the YouTube network. Secondly, the reason I like Vimeo is because we were having problems because the pastors that I work with they have a lot of people that like them, but they also had a lot of people that don't like them. So there were a lot of videos that were made on YouTube about that were negative about the pastors. So when people watch this great 30-minute sermon or message about the pastors, then at the end of it, YouTube would show related videos, and it would be something that would just be slamming the pastor. So now you done took all that ministry that you poured into this person, and this next video that's slamming the pastor really just contradicts everything that was just done. So we had to control what was happening at the end, and Vimeo gave us the ability to do that, to control the browser, control the viewer much more. And so that's why we started using Vimeo. And Vimeo wasn't free. It cost $60 a year for us to use for that. And then YouTube just recently allowed us to turn off the broadcast at the end so that there's no recommended videos at the end that we embed. So that was good that they did that. Speaking of, I just read that also that YouTube has, in addition to over 1 billion online viewers a month, 72 hours of video is uploaded every minute. So that is mind-boggling to think of how much video is uploaded to this. Besides being the second largest search engine around, I also think I heard Michael Hyatt say yesterday, what did he say about YouTube? Oh, the amount of video uploaded to YouTube, I think he said in the last maybe couple of weeks, was more than the major broadcast channels had in their first 60 years of existence. I mean, it was some amazing stat that he said about YouTube. But online video is just the engagement of it is increasing. And then if we look at this, are you all familiar with Netflix and they're releasing Arrested Development, House of Cards, and just internet TV and where it's going? If you're looking at that and we're seeing people basically, they're talking about cut the cord and they don't want to pay for cable, cable bundling the packages, and they want to pay for it a la carte. Well, when we're seeing the new advancements with internet TV, now let's look at how the church can utilize that with the Roku box and Google TV, and Apple TV is supposed to be opening up their box next year, as well as Xbox is supposed to be opening it up to outside developers next year as well. That means that ministries can now don't have to pay the exorbitant fees. I think like TBN, it might be $10,000 or $50,000 a week to broadcast on there, when you can set up an internet TV channel. The problem originally with internet TV is just not as many people were familiar with it. But now that the big players, Netflix, Amazon, the new Xbox has TV built in, as well as the current Xbox, Apple TV, now that we're seeing that the big players are getting in the internet TV, now it's going to become more mainstream. So now the church has the opportunity to establish channels on these internet TV devices for a fraction of what it would cost to try and get on a TBN or a church channel or those other traditional delivery methods. And so that now is why, those are reasons why the church has the opportunity to deliver church content to the living room from a new generation that wants TV when they want it, how they want it, on a device they want it, and not what the cable channels or the traditional ABC, CBS, and NBC is trying to make people watch. So that's, you got to look at those opportunities that we have as the church to actually be able to continue to take our content and deliver it in new ways and new methods, in addition to YouTube channels and stuff like that that we're already familiar with. Okay? Continuing on. Podcast. Now, podcast, this is my podcast with the iChurch method. I put it through iTunes. I use podbean.com. What I've found out is my podcast has probably been up for about, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year. And I found that people were looking for church content and church and technology content on here. So I give it to them for free with the stuff that I also put out on YouTube. But I just repurposed the content that I already had and just distributed it out via iTunes. And this is what the church has the opportunity to do as well. Using a service like Podbean or something like that, you can take the content that the video content you already have that you distribute via Facebook and YouTube and Vimeo that we were talking about, and also make it available via podcast, because people are downloading these podcasts to their mobile devices and carrying it with them. So now what we're doing is we're continuing to take the ministry to the people. Take the content, the ministerial content, again, that we know has the solutions that they need, pushing it out to the way they want to receive it, and letting them carry it with them and consume it when they want to, because that's the generation, that's the way people want to consume content these days. So we want to make sure the church has content in those areas that they're trying to get all the rest of the content that they're looking for. Case in point, Apple. So anybody else listen to podcasts in here? Anybody? Yeah, I listen to quite a few myself. All right, next. Let's talk about internet church campuses. Does anybody here have an internet church campus? Okay, cool. Internet church campuses. And there's a company called MediaSocial.tv that will create an internet church campus for you for $99 a month. All right? And I say that first before I even describe what an internet campus entails, because once the cost factor comes down to a reasonable price, then people can understand that an interactive internet church campus that tries to mimic what happens offline in the church online, then that becomes much more feasible for people to understand that there are people that will connect with your ministry that will never set foot inside your building. When you go online, your church becomes an international ministry. So there are people around the world that are waiting for your church to put the content that it has online so that they can connect with it, because they're in an area where they don't have access to the ministry content that we take for granted. That's why we need to put the internet church campuses up, and that's why we need to make our content available online. This right here is the internet church campus that we have at the Potter's House. What we made sure we had here is the video viewer. We want to make sure that that's the focus because we want people to watch and interact with the video. We have a Twitter feed right here, and normally we also put a live chat feed right here as well. But this is our live Twitter stream using the hashtag TPH online, and I'll talk about later on about hashtags and controlling the conversation with hashtags. Also, we got up there, we want to make sure we got our share your experience, because when you go to church, again, we're mimicking the offline online. When you go to church and you hear something that's great and pastor says something that resonates with you, you leave that church, you to go tell your friends. You tell a friend, hey, I was at church, pastor said something that was great. You need to hear it. He was talking to you, and this is what you need to hear that the pastor said. So you go tell them. So likewise, we want them to be able to do that online. If the pastor says something that resonates, then you tell your online social media friends. Likewise, again, this page is about ministry, so we give them away. They want to be saved. We give them the opportunity to go ahead and do that with online video and the sinner's prayer. We have to give the online donation. We let them give, and we make that process easy. I'm going to talk about that, how easy that process should be. We let them submit prayer requests, because again, this is about ministry, even though it's an online delivery method. Down here, we have let them become e-members of our church, because again, we recognize that there are people around the world that want to worship with us and participate and be a part of our ministry that we will never see. So we give them opportunity to become e-members. But this right here is just rotating banners. That's one of the many rotating banners that we have on here that we talk about. But this whole entire campus is what we let people come and interact with on our weekend services, as well as during the week we rebroadcast services, or we let people use it like a TV channel and choose whether you want to watch a rebroadcast of a service or do you want to watch the shows that we're showing on throughout the week and stuff like that. So that's what you see when you have an internet church campus, when you're starting to look at how interactive that it can be. But when you're looking at this, then you see that this is mainly built for like a laptop, desktop, or a tablet. So we do have a mobile version that is not as interactive, but it's more so about the consuming the media. So we make it so that they can watch the media on there. And then we do give them a few interactive features, but it's not nearly as interactive as this, because we found out that our mobile viewers are really just about being able to watch the service, on the go. That's really what they want to do. They don't interact as much as they consume. So that's what we give them the opportunity to do. The solution that I gave you all with Media Social, though, does have it's made for laptop, desktop, tablets, and mobile as well. So if you do look into that, it does meet all those needs for a very budget-friendly price. Okay? Continuing on. Let's look at e-commerce. Now, online donations and online stores. Now, we're going to talk about online stores, online donations. Does your store have digital products? If you have a store, are your transactions secure, which is the number one question, and is your site, is your store mobile friendly, and is your donations mobile friendly, and is it easy? I mean, that's like the number one thing. Is it easy? Okay. Now, talking about the online security. One thing that people are looking for is secure donation process. They want to make sure that their donations are secure, the transactions secure. So make sure you have make sure you have a good secure socket layer certificate, SSL certificate. Make sure your certificate is up to date, because now the browsers are looking and checking your certificate. So if somebody comes to your site and your SSL certificate is not updated, and you might have just forgot to put in something the right way, or you bought a certificate through GoDaddy or VeriSign or what have you, and something wasn't done correctly, the browser or market and people will think your site has been hacked. So now they won't do any online donations, online transactions with your website, because the browser told them that something was wrong with your site, and then your site got blacklisted and all the rest of the stuff that happens. So you just want to make sure you keep your site secure when you're doing online donations and online transactions. All right, do pay attention to that. Okay. Secondly, make sure your online processes are easy. I'm not sure how many of you all accept online donations. How many of you all accept online donations? Okay, good. The first church I worked at, the process to donate online was 11 steps. From the time you clicked online donation to the time they finally sent you an email that said thank you. They had no idea how many people they were losing in that process. I had no idea when I first looked at it how many people they were losing in that process. But I know if I go to my local grocery store and I have to deal with 11 people before I get my Snickers bar, I'm not buying it. It's not happening. So now if I'm trying to give you my money and participate in ministry with you and support your ministry, and you make me take 11 steps to give you my money, I'm most absolutely keeping that money in my pocket, because I don't have the time or 11 steps to go through that. Okay? So you want to make sure that you make it easy. You look at Amazon's checkout process. They even have one-page checkout. Make sure your process is easy and that people can check out within 2 to 3 steps. That's what you're trying to do, ideally. They got a page where they come in, they input the information, hopefully the credit card information or whatever is right there as well. They click either submit, or you send them to another page that maybe they fill out, maybe there's just the first page is just their personal information, the second page is the billing information, and then submit. And that's it. Choose where you want this money to go. You want to help the kids ministry, you want to help the missionaries, and that's it. All right, it does not have to be a whole bunch of steps. Now, I do know there are additional steps when you're trying to capture their information, have them log in, because they want to look at how much they gave throughout the year and stuff like that. I understand that is usually an extra step. So again, 2 to 3 steps, and please make it easy as possible. Again, mimicking the Amazon approach, or Amazon is actually the best because they're leading e-commerce all around. So that's a good one. Okay. Now, we got this. We got it secure. We got it easy. Now is it mobile friendly? What I found in the ministries I've worked with is when we made the donation page mobile friendly, and even the online store, which is what we're going to transition into next, when we made it mobile friendly, then donations went up 30%. Okay? Reason being is we did not know prior to that how many people wanted to give from their mobile devices. We didn't think that because we weren't doing it. But people want to support your ministry in the way that they want to support your ministry. Some people want to support it from a mobile device. Some people want to support it from their tablet, desktop, laptop. Give them the opportunity to support your ministry in the way that they want to do it. So make sure it's mobile friendly. By mobile friendly, I mean that it adjusts to their screen so that it's easy to view like this, as opposed to them trying to scroll and basically giving them a whole web page, and then they have to try and make the web page work on their mobile device. You can make it so that it adapts to their device. Likewise, jumping over to your online store, make sure your online store adapts to their mobile device as well, because again, people are shopping from mobile devices. So here's an example of an online store that adapts to the mobile device, and you see how easy it is and stuff like that. So it makes it easier for the user to look at the products from their mobile device. And both of these were from mobile iPhones. So, and that's my shameless Apple plug, because I'm an Apple fanatic, and Android is just useful to keep Apple innovating. So hopefully Apple comes up with something good at this conference next week. Otherwise, we're going to have some real problems because they haven't been innovating in a while. So that was my mindless rant for a second. Continuing on, online store. Now, again, when I talk about online stores, I talk about mimicking the Amazon experiences. This is a page from Amazon, and what I want you to look at is, again, notice the things that are going on this page that you can bring to your online store. First and foremost, they have a tangible product. That's my paperback book. They have a digital product. That's the Kindle edition. There is no reason why churches should not have digital products. I understand traditionally, the churches I went to, they sold CDs and DVDs after the services. They recorded it, and they made sure they got it to that machine in the back, and the guy mass produced a whole bunch of DVDs and CDs to sell within 10 minutes after the service. Which what he could have done also was take that same CD or DVD, turn it into a digital product, put it in an online store, and instead of me having to wait after service for you to get those CDs or DVDs to me, I could go to the online store and buy it later on when I get done at IHOP having pancakes for Sunday breakfast with my family, and then want to re-listen to the message. So the thing is, digital products, once they're produced and put in your online store, they immediately become continued sources of revenue for the church. So that's the thing. If you're already recording the message and you're already trying to put it out in tangible format, make sure you have a corresponding digital format so that people can consume it at their leisure, consume the products at their leisure, as well as carry it around with them. It's a download. They can download that to their mobile device, and likewise with the video and audio downloads. So do not neglect the benefits of digital products. Secondly, we're looking at this online store. Again, I was talking about the sign-up process. And there's software that can do this, actually. Shopify is a good software that does this. Ecwid, ecwid.com is a good one that does this. So those are a few that I've seen. ASP.NET Storefront does this very well as also. But these are just easy ways to quick sign one checkout, quick ways to add it to the cart, and just ways to get it out. Also, I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Your social sharing. Let people share their online shopping experience with their friends because, again, a lot of us have had a shopping experience where a friend recommended something on a social media network, and because of that, we went and checked it out or we bought it or something like that. Let the power of social media work for you, and let those people who are on your site trying to buy your products become your marketers. Okay, from a business perspective, they will market your products and your ministry for you if you give them the tools to do so. So allow them to do that for you. All right, continuing on. Let's talk about social media for a second. Now, social media, one of the most important connection points for the entire ministry. All right, social media is an interactive two-way conversation, a way for people to reach the ministry faster with immediate connections and immediate responses. And more people can be reached right where they are, no matter what network they use most. They feel like the ministry is coming to them. All right, so no matter what network they're on, they feel like if your ministry has a social media presence on the network that they like, then they feel like the ministry can be is accessible to them on that network. Okay, let's talk about some of the top networks. Oh, and the things we're going to talk about here real quick in social media. Top social networks in the world, digital missions. All right, what's your strategy? Visual social media content. We'll talk about some mobile social media. And then, we'll, again, as I always say, analyze, optimize, repeat. Top social networks in the world. Everybody's familiar with Facebook being 1 billion. YouTube, 600 million. Twitter, half a billion. LinkedIn, 161 million. Instagram, 100 million. Pinterest, 15 million. These are numbers that I've got. I also had Google Plus. I believe the number I read yesterday was 400 million. And then, does anybody do any international ministry here? Okay, what country do you do ministry in?
Down the Caribbean and Latin America.
Okay. Okay, so would that be something like Orchid?
They use Twitter and Facebook now.
Twitter and Facebook, okay. I believe those are the top, but I think Orchid had a good hold down in Latin
There's
America.
There's another little one they use, but they're going more to Twitter and they're dropping that one.
Okay, okay, good.
It was just Twitter copycat.
Oh, okay. Okay, understood. I recently spoke overseas in the Middle East, in Dubai, and one of the things that we had to talk about was social media from an international perspective. So we had to address, like in China, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter is blocked. Likewise, I believe it was in Russia. So in China, the largest network is Sina Weibo, which has 400 million, Qzone, 530 million, and Rinrin, which has 130 million. And likewise in Russia, it was V Kontakte and Odnoklassniki, which were the top networks. So from a global perspective, when you decide that you want to look at social media from a global perspective, understand that you have to look at these networks. There are some places where Facebook and Twitter, even though Facebook and Twitter is leading the charge in a lot of nations, there are some places where it's blocked. So you have to look at other networks where you want to reach your international audience. Okay? But those are the top networks, and these are the top places that you want to look at starting to establish your ministry content, or repurposing the content that you already have and distributing out through these social networks. To you now, digital missions. The time is coming to look at social media as a place to connect with current members as well as reach others. More of a digital missionary field. I heard this concept from Phil Cook for the first time. A lot of churches understand missionaries and having missionaries go out, and we've seen missionaries traditionally go out to these different remote places and talk to the local people and bring the gospel. But I had never really understood the fact of digital missionaries. But I understand now how if there's 1 billion people on Facebook and there's 500 million on Twitter and these other social media channels and 400 million on Google Plus, that in itself is a digital missionary field. So what ministries have to start looking at now is how to reach these people at these digital missionary fields, because it doesn't take, it's not nearly the approach as far as sending missionaries around the world and putting them in the situations that they are as far as those other missionaries have to do. Even though that stuff is definitely, that still needs to be done, we need to have the church evolve to look at doing digital missions where they're reaching these millions and billions of people online with the good news. And so now we have to start looking at social media as the way to do that, because there are millions of people there waiting for the good news that we all are already familiar with.
The big concern with that is going back to where we were in the 50s with real missionaries and being parental, because we're not only doing the gospel, but also communicating Western concepts along with it.
Oh, true indeed.
And not being contextualized as we do it. So I think that's valid, but we need to keep that. That needs to be a major consideration as we're trying to reach outside our culture.
Oh, absolutely. And the context of how we're reaching them, I think that, again, that played a large role in what we were talking about over in the Middle East, and just how we approached the way we were reaching them definitely on the other networks, in addition to the ones that we were all familiar with. But that digital missionary field is something that the church will definitely need to consider. Continuing on, let's talk about strategy. All right, when we're looking at social media, we can't just put up a Facebook or Twitter page and hope they see you. You need a social media content strategy. First and foremost, looking at visual social media. Now, over the last, say about 18 months, visual social media and mobile social media have really changed the way that social media has really impacted our lives. First and foremost, visual social media, you want to be able to tell your ministry story visually and let people see and experience your story. That's where a lot of multimedia content comes in. If you look at Facebook in their edge rank, they prefer visual media over textual media. So they're looking for more pictures and video and stuff like that, giving that preference in people's news feeds as opposed to just textual updates. So they want you to basically be able to tell your story visually. Facebook led the charge on this with the visual social media when they introduced the timeline feature. They also introduced the new cover photo features, and they started adding milestones and stuff like that. All that type of stuff to basically tell your story in a much more visual manner. So as you started seeing Facebook lead that, then you saw Twitter implement their photo album feature, and stuff, and other visual features such as their cover photo and stuff like that. So when you start seeing that type of stuff, we start seeing that just overall social media took a more visual approach. And the reason for that is visual media is much more engaging. If we think back to when we were younger, the first type of books we started reading, at least for most of us, I believe, was picture books. Okay, because that was the type of stuff that was most engaging. So now social media, which originally started out as a much more textual-based form of media, is now going much more visually based, because that's more engaging. As you go more mainstream, then you look at ways to engage more users, then you need to use tactics and strategies that engage more users. First and foremost, visual media does that. So now, if you have people engage more often, you can put more ads on the pages. You put more ads on the pages, you generate more dollars. You generate more dollars, then you realize how Facebook and these other social medias are looking to become a business that generate money. Facebook IPOs, and now you see the real business perspective of it. And that's the type of stuff we're looking at. So that's the reason we're seeing social media take a more visual perspective. Likewise, we've seen the growth of YouTube. And if you're seeing, looking more visual social networks, we look at Pinterest. Pinterest is really just pictures and video. And so we're seeing how these are whole networks that are being built up around just visual social media. Instagram is a good example. Instagram is, in addition to being a visual social media, is also mobile social media. And that's mobile social media, which networks that are just mainly accessible from mobile devices. Instagram, Vine, and Foursquare. These are mobile social networks where we're seeing now, as social media evolves, it's taking a visual perspective as well as a mobile perspective. So now, because people really want to access social media from wherever they're at, and basically let the network come to them. which is one reason that I think, and this is just my personal opinion, that MySpace failed. I had a MySpace page. I loved MySpace. I thought it was great. But everybody's page looked different, and if you weren't at a computer, you couldn't access MySpace. I don't remember MySpace ever having a mobile site. So on my phone, when I really started accessing the internet from my phone, I didn't use any type of social networking on it until Facebook and Twitter came around. Then I really started using social networking from my phone, when MySpace really had the market cornered on social networking way before Facebook became popular. So they really missed their moment there. And I know they still exist, and I think Justin Timberlake got behind them, but he's going to take a lot of sexy to bring that back. So we'll see how that happens. Anywho, carrying on. Strategy. Who will manage it all? So when you're looking at who will manage it all, you're looking at in terms of your church's resources, as well as in terms of people resources and the actual time. You have to look at who's going to manage it all. We use a software called Hootsuite.com. We also do native posting, but we do Hootsuite in terms of just the time that it helps us in scheduling stuff out. So Hootsuite, we've connected with Twitter, Facebook profiles, Facebook fan pages, Google Plus accounts, and then you see down there lowly is my LinkedIn account that I post to every so often. But these are about 3 ministries that I work with, and I probably say, about 31 profiles that I manage week in, week out. So this is what I do pretty much on Hootsuite. Usually what I do is the beginning of the week, probably Sunday or Monday, I schedule out the social media for the church I work with for the entire week. And basically that's from textual content they've given me, daily devotionals and stuff like that, video content where I'm linking to YouTube and stuff like that. But you want to look at who's going to be able to manage all this, who is going to be able to champion and gather the content from the people inside the ministry and start pushing that out on social media. I work with a ministry that's very, very large, and they have the hardest time getting someone to get the content from the people onto social media. I have no idea why it's like that, because in actuality, they produce a lot of content. They just don't know how to get it to the appropriate people to get it on the social media. So it happens, but you need somebody to champion that. Second, you need to look at, who's your audience, who you're trying to reach. And this could change per post or per content. Sometimes you want to put something out for the members of the church, the people that that are inside the church. Sometimes you want to put something for people that are outside the church, the outreach and stuff like that. You got to figure out who's your audience for your social media and who you're trying to reach. Okay? Next, best times to post. Let's look at specific times you need to post. All right? We look at posting at least 4 times a day. And I'll tell you, we're talking about different networks in a little minute, but we'll talk about this. The best times to post: morning post between 8 and noon, afternoon post between noon and 5. We got an evening post between 5 and 10, and an overnight post between 10 and 8 a.m. The reason we chose these times is these are the times that our analytics showed that we had the best engagement. So in the morning, we'll start off with a daily devotional. In the afternoon, we'll put some type of multimedia out, something that engages people, a photo, a meme, something like that. In the evening, we'll put a link to some type of church event or some type of event we have coming up. Just let them click something, take them somewhere, or do something. And then overnight, we repost a daily devotional. And this stuff changes, but I'm just giving you a general strategy we use. Overnight, we do a repost of the daily devotional because we have a large international audience. So at night to us is daytime to them. So when we post that, we get a huge engagement amount because they're waking up and this is their daily devotional. So that's why we did that. Now let's look at how often to post. Facebook or Google Plus, 2 to 3 times a day. Again, we talked about those times. Twitter, we try and post up to 4 times a day. YouTube, Vimeo, Pinterest, with the videos, we try and post 1 to 3 videos a week. And Pinterest and Instagram, 1 to 2 pictures a week. Also with that video, you can also put that on Facebook as well. Okay, now, I mentioned Google Plus. Google Plus as a social network. Not a lot of churches are using it. There's one reason why you should use Google Plus. And not because it's a social network or anything like that. Google Plus is run by Google, who runs the internet. That's your reason right there. When you look at SEO and search engine optimization and stuff like that, Google favors content from its properties over other properties. So it owns YouTube. It favors YouTube content over Vimeo. It owns Google Plus. It favors Google Plus content over other social networks. You use Google Plus first and foremost for search engine optimization, because the more content you push out through Google Plus, when people are searching for, if your pastor did a message on faith and you put that video through YouTube, what have you, and put it on Google Plus, then when someone's searching for faith, then that message will come up higher associated with your church than if you put it on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere else, because Google favors their networks. So for the SEO purposes, even though when you go on Google Plus, it doesn't look like a lot of people are interacting on there and stuff like that, the main purpose for Google Plus as of today is SEO, search engine optimization. Okay, is there any ministries on Google Plus? Wow. Don't everybody raise their hand at the same time. So, yes.
Do you repost the same things on Facebook and Google Plus or YouTube and Vimeo and Pinterest?
Do we repost the same thing on Facebook or Google Plus?
Content for each one?
We repost the same content on a variety of networks. We customize the way we present it. So for example, if we have a long post on Facebook or Google Plus, because that's not as limited, then we'll cut that down for Twitter and stuff like that. The video, same video you see on Google Plus, be the same video we put on YouTube, same video we put on Facebook. So we do put the same content out, but we might change up the little message we put with it, depending on how we see our audience response to certain things.
All of those have different audiences?
All of those, yeah, for the most part, all of our channels have different audiences.
So think if you had Facebook, like if I had a Facebook and a Google Plus and a Twitter,
Right?
I'd get 3 notifications that you guys uploaded the same thing.
Yeah, well, we would think that, but the what we found in our using Hootsuite Analytics, we use Google Analytics for social, and then we use Facebook Insights. What we found is even we thought that people were getting it. The majority of people we saw that were getting multiple notifications were like the people that are again very supportive of the ministry, and we have a small intersection of all the circles we look at. We have a small intersection of people that support our ministry on every channel that we're on. That's not the majority. The majority of people support our ministry on the channel that they like. So if they follow our pastor on Twitter, then Twitter is what they like. And so they're not necessarily on Facebook. So that's what we found. And our Google Plus audience, they really are just there. Like we don't see them anywhere else. So, which is interesting in itself.
Tools to stagger that stuff too, so it's not all being blasted out at the same time.
Oh yeah, we use Hootsuite. Hootsuite staggers all that stuff. Hootsuite auto scheduling and stuff like that. It staggers it out for us.
And is Hootsuite like are they leading that area of the social media distribution?
Yeah, Hootsuite. I would say Hootsuite and Buffer would probably be a good one. But Hootsuite, I haven't seen anything that rivaled Hootsuite yet. I've seen a few that like maybe I won't say Sprout Social or something like that. I've seen a few, but cost-effective wise, I haven't seen anything that's rivaled Hootsuite. First and foremost, when we got on Hootsuite, it was free, so we had to start off to see if we even wanted to use it. We didn't have any other channels that gave us as many features that were free, like Hootsuite did, and then we eventually upgraded to pay for it. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we're talking about Google Plus. So we talked about that for a second. And then next, where is social media going? Well, we're seeing social media going. I believe it's going to be easier to use and add more multimedia. So I think it's going to become more visual, much more mobile friendly. And I really believe that Google Plus, for some reason, I think Google Plus is going to grow, and Google's going to basically make people use it more. I really do. I don't know exactly how they're going to do that. I know their Google Glass. I'm really looking forward to that, and I know a lot of their Google Plus is built into that, and they do have some other social networking features that they're going to allow on their Facebook and Twitter. But I think that Google Plus is going to play a much larger role in social networking in the future. Maybe not near future, but in the future. And of course, with the strategy we just laid out, always analyze, optimize, repeat. Okay. All right. Part 5, last part of the iChurch method. It's mobile. So we look at mobile. Mobile is clear. Mobile's taking over the world. Let's see. Number of people accessing internet via mobile devices increased by 60% in the last 2 years. By 2015, more users will access the internet through a mobile device than a PC. That's according to the International Data Corporation. Over the last few years, mobile consumer internet usage has increased 1,200%. And good source of information for Google for mobile information is Google Mobile Planet. Thinkwithgoogle.com. That's where I found a lot of that information about mobile.
Did you see the thing about the Google blimp?
No, I haven't seen anything about Google Blimp.
There's an initiative, they've started to put a blimp up in the third
Oh,
world
for the
areas
to give them internet access.
to get internet
Yes,
access. Yeah,
yes.
because the towers aren't getting out.
Yes. Actually, what I like about that, speaking of mobile, if we jumped on that for a second, Google, basically, if they give those people in third world countries, they give them internet access, then besides all the data they get, which is what they really want, I mean, they control their internet experience. That's genius by Google, especially with the fact of in the third world countries, and what I've learned in looking at mobile engagement, their access to mobile devices, they still have access. They may not have the most advanced smartphone, but they have access to mobile devices, so they're still able to connect with our ministries via mobile devices. So if Google is now giving them an amount of internet access, then in addition to Google getting that data, they still have a way to connect with all of us. So that's a really good initiative that Google is doing, and I really like the way they're doing that. But of course, Google's going to control all that information, control the pipes. So again, Google controls the internet. All right, so what we're going to talk about here, SMS, one of the highest forms of engagement on mobile devices that's very much often overlooked. Mobile websites versus mobile apps, responsive design, tablets, and low consumption mobile, which is what we're talking about with the third world development and how they access the internet. All right. Matter of fact, let's jump over to, before we do that, let me talk real quick about, before I jump over to mobile sites, mobile apps, let me talk about SMS, texting. Now, people are 90% more likely to open and read a text. This is more effective than mobile websites, apps, emails, and any form of communication. What I've seen with the majority of churches that I've worked with is they overlook accessing people via their mobile devices, via SMS. They understand we need to make a mobile website. They understand we want to make a mobile app. That's actually the first thing they think about. Let's make a mobile app and let's just do that. They don't think about getting the access to your audience via SMS, asking them for their mobile numbers to send them a daily devotional text or somehow stay connected with them via SMS. If people are 90% more likely to read a text when it comes through, then that's the most engaging form of marketing that you have, because email marketing, at most you're getting 20% engagement, and that's pretty high. If you get direct mail, I think the last meeting I was in, they said they were looking at between 3 to 4% engagement. So 90% engagement via SMS is a very high number and a very good way to market to them. Social media, Twitter, I think they said when you post on Twitter at any given time, and it's not Twitter restricting you, but how people are logged on, only up between 25-35% of people are seeing your tweets. Facebook, we already know, is giving you around 14% of engagement with EdgeRank by limiting your post, because they want you to promote the post and pay for the rest of your audience. So we're seeing that SMS text and 90% is a very high number, but a lot of churches don't utilize that as a way to market to people. But of course, with that 90% engagement, people are 90% likely to unsubscribe if you spam them. So that's the thing we have to be careful about when you're staying connected with people via their mobile devices. They're very protective of that when they give you access, and how quickly they'll unsubscribe if you continue to spam them. All right, let's look at the question. Question I've been asked all the time: mobile site versus mobile app. Which one should you do first? My answer, I always say, is a mobile website. The reason I say mobile website is a mobile website is accessible from more mobile devices than the app you develop. The app is usually geared towards one particular operating system. You got an iOS app, you might have an Android app. and then you got the others. So excuse my bias, well, BlackBerry app, Windows app, and whoever else exists. But iOS, when you create that app, you're only making it for that particular operating system. If you create a mobile site, it's accessible via more mobile devices, so you get access to a larger audience. So that's why you should make the mobile website first, and then make the app. Now, using responsive design, you can just make a regular website, and the website will adapt to the mobile device, so you actually don't have to do anything specific. Just make your regular website, and then let the responsive design CSS do the rest. Okay? For our responsive design templates, we use templates that we customize and let our graphic designers work their magic on. We get our templates, the most recent one we got, if we don't have a designer try and do it from scratch, is Elegant Themes. We like elegantthemes.com. That was a good one. What should you put on your mobile website? What we've seen is the things that people are looking for: home, location, service times, media. They're very engaged. They want the media on their mobile websites. Contact information, donations, interactive Bible. This is the stuff that people are looking for quickly and effectively on their mobile website. And again, our media engagement, watching live and watching archived sermons from mobile devices, went up 48% as soon as we launched our mobile website. So again, as I said earlier, our donations went up. I think it was 30% plus, and then our media engagement went up 48%. So you're seeing, as soon as we gave people these ways to access our ministry via their mobile devices, our interaction and engagement went up a lot. On your mobile app, again, much more engagement. People seem to be much more connected with their mobile app than the mobile website. We saw this with at conferences we were doing. We would put up a mobile website, and we would let people watch the conference live, and you could interact with people, and stuff, all that type of stuff through the mobile website. But when we created an app, we had a lot of people writing into us saying, oh, glad you guys created an app. Now I can watch the conferences, which they could always watch them via the mobile website, but they didn't connect with being able to watch from a mobile device until we put that app out. So that was another reason we do believe that you should put an app out as well. It seems to be much more engaged. People are more likely to connect with you through their app than going through your mobile website if you have the app available. And then also, I think the same tabs and pages that are on the mobile website. But if you have the capability to really think it through and you have the resources, then try and make your app, much more engaging. Have some features that are different from every other app out there. That's something that you can do when you get a chance to customize the app and really come up with an innovative way to engage people. Okay? Finally, talking about responsive design. So we talked about that for a second. Again, with tablets, I think tablets are going to continue to increase as far as with the way that people are utilizing them and the way people are engaging with them. Again, the tablet, what I think the tablet is leading the push for is what I'm seeing with Google in creating a unified web experience. And I think tablets are really leading that, because tablets and other mobile devices are starting to outsell PCs. I'm seeing that people are going to start connecting with our churches and our ministries via their tablet devices, and as well as their smartphones and so on, but their tablet devices. So we got to make sure we customize our web experience to make sure and really look at the tablet device. Okay? And then low consumption mobile. We've talked about that a little bit already, just as far as when you're looking at your website and how we talked about how fast it loaded and stuff like that. You want to make sure that, and I saw this, I've seen iChurch really lead the way in this, is when you see, if you come to their website from a phone, not necessarily a smartphone, just any mobile phone, their website adapts to it, and you're able to consume and watch their ministry on that mobile device, even if it's just a really, really basic phone. Facebook did this as well. I think they had a site called, I want to say it's Facebook Lite or Facebook Zero, I don't know what it was called, but there you could access Facebook from any device, and that's why they grew at the exponential rates that they grew at, because no matter what the device was, they were accessible. And that's the way we got to look at how we're putting our websites together as well. Okay? Finally, let's look at the future. Same experiences no matter the connecting device. That's what we have to look at when we're starting to put these web experiences together and figuring out how we're going to connect with our members online. Make sure that there's, no matter what the device is, they're having the same online experience. I believe internet church campuses are going to start to grow, and people are going to start connecting more online, and the lines are going to blur between online and offline. So the stuff you see happening online is going to impact offline. The stuff you see offline is going to impact online. All right, we're going to have more in-depth connections online as we're seeing. I'm not sure, but I really think with Google Glass and wearable technology, Apple talking about the iWatch, and Android has an iWatch coming out as well, but that wearable technology is going to start to keep us connected more so than we already are. So again, if we're looking at ways to connect with our members more intimately online, and we're continuing to put this content out, then we got to look at all these different ways that they're connecting, wearable technology, Google Glass, and all these new things that are coming out. Even when we see appliances start to be connected. My wife wanted to buy a refrigerator that was internet connected. That was ridiculously priced last year, and we didn't get it. But what I saw on there was, on the front screen, it was, I could see how a ministry could, if I wanted my pastor's daily devotionals to show on the screen, to start my day off before I get my milk to go with my Pop-Tarts that I love, my brown cinnamon sugar Pop-Tarts, and I see a daily devotional to start my day, I could see how that ministry could really get me going. Instead of having to pull out my phone and look on Facebook for the daily devotional, I'm seeing it on my appliances as I'm getting started to start my day. That's how you start to connect with people and really make sure that, no matter what device it is, and I mean literally what device, ministry is available to them and the ministry is there, okay? And then finally, the cloud. What the cloud does, and I saved this for last, I was asked this question yesterday by somebody. They were talking about how a ministry could be ran, and they were talking about budget restrictions. And I named out a lot of different cloud services, whether it be project management, Google Apps, live stream, Ustream, and media social with the internet church. But basically I said, I work for a large ministry, and I'm sure they have a large budget, but if you want to have the online presence of a mega church, it could be done for under $500 a month. That's what the cloud does. If you have a business that wants to rival the impact of these corporations, it could be done for under $500 a month. So that's what I'm talking about, when the cloud and the power of the cloud computing brings down the cost barrier, that we have the technology to literally, at the touch of a button from any device, reach and impact the world. All right? Finally, as I said before, resources available. The 2 books that we were talking about. This slideshow is here at iChurchMethod.com/biola.digital. What I did was, that I got from my friend Paul earlier today, was I put a survey on there asking about, let me know what you thought about the presentation, and then I will you have the links to download this one and the next presentation that I'm doing. So I want to, you all to have access to that. And then there's the Twitter to follow the iChurch Method. Okay? Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
For the live stream or even the videos, aren't there licensing issues in terms of which songs or potentially privacy issues that you have to discuss with the ministries so that they don't say something that is going to go live on air, I think, or I know that, well, let me rephrase, I know that there's licensing issues with worship songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, for those in the audience that are interested in going, because my church was interested, but you have to buy additional licensing packages to allow that worship content to be online.
Yes. So, yes, there are licensing issues with the worship songs and what you can play online and what you can't play. So I have seen some churches adhere to that. I have seen some that have not. As far as the other question, now you said privacy issues as far as who you're showing on there or something?
Or like, well, I know that like our pastor, there's certain things that he says before we actually start audio recording.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't necessarily, that content's not cleared for made broadcast, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
And so those are the other concerns that I haven't figured out how to deal with, in terms of having the entire worship service experience online.
Oh, okay, okay,
Without,
yes.
like, dealing with licensing or like, oh, by the way, you're being recorded, or
Okay, well, let me tell you how I've seen the church deal with that I've worked with. One, what is streamed live is live. They kind of run with what happens. If you watch the service live, then you'll see what happens live. They start streaming again as soon as the worship service starts. They choose the songs obviously according to the licenses they have. They do adhere to that. But there have been things the pastor has said on the live broadcast that don't make it on the DVD, don't make it on the, they edit the service for TV, doesn't make it on TV, and doesn't make it on any of the podcasts or other outlet channels. So what you see live is different than what you see when you get the edited version. So that's how they do that. So they basically tell the editors, the pastor will try his best to control what he says. Your job is to make him control what he says. Yes.
I got a little bit to add to that.
Uh-huh.
When we started live stream, we have to obviously buy an upgraded license for worship. And then for your live service, you have to put up a few signs in your worship center that says it's being recorded. And then for the people that are being spotlighted for baby dedications, whatever it is, then they need to sign waivers.
Yeah, and actually, that's the other thing,
Mhm.
the video, but also if you, supposedly, if you put pictures or the likeness of anybody in your congregation online, you're supposed to let your congregation know that, hey, you or your likeness is gonna be being used.
Oh, we do that. Now there are signs that let you know as soon as you step in the building you're being recorded. We do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, because they record everything. So,
And stuff
absolutely.
the children's ministries with that.
Yeah.
We say,
Yeah.
take pictures of your kids, put them up, and they're like,
Yep.
you can't always do that. We have to ask the parents.
Yeah.
And then every time you ask the parents, and it just gets, and then they have new people coming in all the time.
Absolutely.
It's a really tough.
Yeah, the kids are especially.
They
The kids
have
especially.
iPhones, they have Facebook, so it gets up there anyways, and so then you're like, okay.
Well, if the kids post it, it's not.
Yeah, you said you just want to absolve the ministry of the responsibility. So, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment on that, I think that sometimes you have to go back and question kind of like the strategy of the church and kind of like in the last session that we went to, kind of like your theology of the church and the focus
Mm-hmm.
of like, do we want this to be an intimate atmosphere of connection for the people who are worshiping and stuff like that? And
Yeah.
that's always gonna be broadcast. There's like the teaching, and then there's also the community.
Mm-hmm.
Just to like ask those questions before you think about like permissions and all that stuff.
True. Our approach is because we're trying to mimic the offline experience as much online, we try and broadcast. I would say we broadcast everything, and pretty much kind of work from there. I mean, as far as the professional editing, TV, podcast, stuff like that, that's professionally done, and our editors are really good at making everything look great. But the live experience, we want our online users to just have as much of the online experience as they can consume from their whatever device they're on, laptop, desktop, etc. So, yes, sir.
For live streaming, as far as your internet connection
Yeah.
capability, you think what you have to look at there?
Your internet speeds and stuff like that.
Right.
We have, I believe my IT guy said you want between 2 to 5 up, if possible, and I think he said 10 down, as far as megabytes. And I think that's no, that was enough to get out a good stream. Now, of course, when you go HD, you obviously need more, but he was just talking about to get a good stream and have enough for our audience to have a large audience, because obviously our servers pretty much take it from there as far as when our audience grows to 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, et cetera.
The interesting thing now is that you're streaming, but then you start having people in your congregation go on their iPads, so you have everyone's using the same internet, and they're like, oh, look, it's cool, we can watch it live. And it's like
Yeah,
instant replay.
we had to switch that up.
Yeah.
We have a pipe for them. Yeah, absolutely.
But different services, live stream is a really great service
Yeah.
that we use that is adaptable to whatever internet you have. We stream at
Yeah.
HD, but on the other end, if they don't have the capability to watch it at that
That's why I like them. I needed it to be automated. If people can't choose, people can choose, that's great. But I want it to be automated. We try and make our processes for the end user as I can't say that word, foolproof as possible, so that they don't have to do anything except for click a button and watch. Yeah, just press play and watch, so that they won't hit us up and say, well, and this is an actual thing, I thought you guys were streaming today, but my screen is black, so you guys must not be streaming. Did you turn your monitor on? Oh, okay. Sorry I called. Cool. Not a problem. Thank you.
Also, live stream for the church side, on the church's side of it, live stream has, Ustream has really great hardware that you can purchase from them without tying into the whole system as well. Either mounted on the cameras, mounted in the booth, what have you, that will do all the
Yes.
for you, push out multiple copies of it so you get HD, mid, low.
What was that like? Was it $2.99, $4.99?
Yeah, they have all the
Can't remember
way
the
up.
price.
If you
Oh, is it?
really
Okay.
like really, really high-end stuff, you can even do really high-end stuff with it too. But
Okay. Yeah, I
something
remember
like
that.
especially if you're trying to do just very small stuff, or if you're going to take a camera and just take the camera out someplace.
Right.
You can mount it right onto the camera on the cold shoe and just do everything right off of that.
See, and that's the type of stuff that I really think helps, a ministry of any size be able to, look like online, a ministry of any size. And that's the best part about it. So I like seeing new stuff like that. I remember seeing, I think it was Livestream that did that, that little red box that they said, yeah, I remember seeing that. Yep. Paul.
Jason, can you speak to the differences between simply live streaming versus a virtual church, like the pros and cons, and especially as it comes to moderating and pastoring, shepherding online? Do you see a difference between those and kind of help steer people towards one or the other?
You mean like you said a virtual church, and what was the other thing you said?
Well, just live streaming something. Is there
Oh.
a difference in terms of the interaction and
Yes.
need for moderation and pastoring?
Yes, good. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think the best example of this, are you familiar with Saddleback?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I figured you would be. The gentleman that I know there, Pastor Jay, let me reverse him correctly, Pastor Jay Cranda, he kind of gave me a good example and kind of showed me the ropes as far as when you look at an internet church and have an online pastor, and I guess for a virtual church, a good way to put it. The online pastor and the way the virtual church is working is, again, there is a pastor that guides the conversation. They actually did the weekly studies and the different, I think they use Facebook groups, I want to say, or some type of groups to do weekly studies and stuff like that. But the virtual church with an actual pastor, campus pastor, so to speak, leading it, was a much more engaging and much more immersive experience for the end users. Plus, they had them in these groups, online groups, and using the kind of a group setting as far as ministering to each other and interacting with each other. Much different than the just turning on a live stream and letting people watch it and just talking for those few hours. It was much more mimicking how church is supposed to be, where it's not just a once a week thing, or just much more of having full engagement throughout the week. Basically becoming an internet church campus as opposed to just an extension of service on that particular day. And that's the thing I really liked about the way that he did it as far as that. And then, I don't really get too much to the theological approach of internet church and online church, but that's something that the pastor really looks at, and how to effectively and theologically apply those principles to this online, or this methodology in the way of reaching people online. That's the stuff that the pastor does, and there's a pastor that's responsible for that. Another pastor is Pastor Neil Smith out of San Antonio. He does it very well also. So I just think that the internet church or the virtual church campus and that type of experience is an entire another level of basically looking at the church as an entire campus, and and operating as as basically an entity of a church in addition, but also, obviously still be an extension of the home-based church, not eliminating the home church and the gathering amongst believers at all. So not that at all. Good question though. Yep. Any other questions? All right, appreciate you all's time. Thank you for coming out.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.